They say history is written by the victors, but sometimes history is written by the engineers. Quiet men bent over stone blocks, pouring volcanic dust into mixing basins, carving tunnels through mountains, and scratching diagrams on wax tablets, never imagining their work might survive longer than the empire that paid them. And yet, if you open your eyes in the right places across America, from the arches of government buildings to the hidden plumbing beneath your city, to the roads that stretch across deserts, you'll see traces of a civilization that fell 1,500 years ago, but somehow refuses to stay buried. Not the emperors, not the conquests, not the marble statues with suspiciously perfect cheekbones, but Rome, the problem solver, Rome, the mechanic, Rome, the inventor. Tonight, we're drifting into that quieter Rome, the Rome you don't hear about in school, the Rome whose fingerprints still sit on every faucet, every highway, every sports stadium, every concrete bridge holding up the American interstate. A Rome whose lost technologies traveled centuries, carried by accident, by imitation, by stolen manuscripts, by wandering monks, and sometimes by nothing more than the stubborn persistence of good ideas. So settle in, dim the lights, let your breathing slow, not because the story is boring, but because Rome has a way of whispering instead of shouting. We're going deep beneath the marble, into the pipes, the workshops, the engineering trenches, into the inventions that shaped a world that never knew their names. And everything begins with fire. The quiet revolution of Roman fire. Before Rome, fire was everywhere, but nobody controlled it. Not really. People lit torches, people cooked, people melted metal. But the Romans, they channeled fire. They treated fire like a tool, like a construction worker, like a quiet servant humming beneath the floorboards. Enter the hypocaust system, the ancient world's most astonishing heating invention. Picture this. A Roman nobleman steps barefoot across his villa floor on a cold January morning. Instead of icy stone, his toes meet warmth, gentle, radiant, comforting, like stepping across a heated bathroom tile in a modern home. But there is no electricity, no furnace tucked in a basement, no thermostat blinking blue. Under his feet, a network of small brick columns creates a hollow chamber beneath the entire room. Slaves, usually 2 or 3, have been awake since dawn, feeding a fire in a furnace room at one end of the house. The hot air rushes through the subfloor chambers, flows up hollow clay pipes inside the walls, and warms the entire structure like an ancient HVAC system. It was so effective that in some excavated villas, archaeologists found floors still slightly bowed upward from centuries of gentle heat expanding stone. Modern engineers look at this and go, well, that's actually kind of brilliant. The hypocaust wasn't just comfort. It made public baths possible. It made winter gatherings tolerable. It made hygiene workable for large populations. And without it, Europe's later bathhouses and eventually America's spa culture might never have existed. But heating was only the beginning. Water, Rome's greatest silent achievement. If you were to ask an American today what Rome is famous for, you'd hear gladiators, Julius Caesar, Latin, maybe pizza if they slept through history class. But Romans themselves would have answered differently. Water. Water was their pride. In the United States, water flows through invisible pipes, underground tunnels, filtration plants, and pumping stations, out of faucets, showers, drinking fountains, lawn sprinklers. Modern life is shaped entirely by the idea that clean water should travel to us. Rome invented that idea. Not discovered, invented. Before Rome, cities lived or died based on distance to a river. After Rome, cities could grow anywhere water could be sent. Aqueducts weren't just pretty stone arches. In fact, 90% of an aqueduct structure ran underground, hidden, protected, gently sloping across miles of countryside with precision so absurd that modern surveyors still raise an eyebrow. The Aqua Marcia ran 57 miles into the city. Its total drop in height? About 10 feet. A gradient so subtle that if you stood at one end and squinted, it looked flat. Engineers traced routes by digging shafts straight down, connecting tunnels horizontally, measuring slopes with water-filled trenches, tapping mountains like miners, and sometimes building bridges and inverted siphons miles long, all so that a single drop of water could travel dozens of miles without a pump. Romans didn't just move water, they curated water. They created settling tanks to remove sediment. They created pressure regulators. They channeled different aqueducts to different districts based on water quality. Freshest water for drinking, slightly less fresh for baths, least fresh for cleaning streets and flushing sewers. Yes, Rome had flushing systems. Not like a modern toilet with porcelain curves and a tank, but large-scale urban sanitation tunnels, controlled water flows, and drainage grids so good that parts of them are still usable. The Cloaca Maxima, Rome's grand sewer, still drains rainwater today, 2,000 years later. America's sewer systems, water pressure principles, municipal water rights, agricultural irrigation systems, and even the logic behind its dam placements all trace back, not always directly, but undeniably, to Roman hydraulic engineering. But here's the strange part. For centuries after Rome fell, nobody could replicate these systems. The technology wasn't lost exactly. It was forgotten in slow motion. Then monks copying manuscripts accidentally preserved the knowledge. Renaissance city planners rediscovered it. Enlightenment engineers scaled it. America inherited it. Every time a water tower rises above a Midwestern town, it echoes Rome. Every time a reservoir feeds a city through gravity alone, it echoes Rome. And every time a civil engineer opens a textbook on hydrology, Rome whispers in the margins. Concrete, Rome's immortal secret. Modern concrete cracks. Roman concrete refuses. Roman harbors along the Mediterranean, built 2,000 years ago, still sit solid under ocean waves that should have pulverized them centuries ago. The key wasn't some mystical lost formula. It was pozzolana, volcanic ash from the Bay of Naples. When mixed with lime and seawater, it created a material that became harder over time. The salt triggered a chemical reaction that grew new minerals inside the concrete, healing cracks, strengthening joints, and resisting erosion. It is, in a sense, alive. The Pantheon stands today because of this material. Its weight, 4,535 tons, presses down on walls that should have collapsed long ago, except the concrete they used wasn't typical concrete. It was engineered. Modern researchers studying Roman concrete have already begun using similar mixtures to build sustainable, self-healing structures. And as America struggles with infrastructure decay, from cracked bridges to crumbling piers, the ancient formula feels less like a curiosity and more like a blueprint for the future. It makes you wonder how many centuries of engineering headaches could have been avoided if someone in medieval Europe had bothered to ask, how did they build that dome anyway? But alas, we move on. Glass, Rome's unacknowledged gift to the modern eye. Romans did not invent glass, but they democratized it. Before Rome, glass existed only in tiny luxury forms, jewelry-sized, colored, opaque. Rome took Syrian glass-blowing techniques, industrialized them, and flooded the empire with window glass, drinking vessels, cosmetic containers, medical vials, mosaic tiles, decorative lamps, and even experimental magnifying lenses. Glass workshops operated like early factories. Traders carried Roman glass across Europe,
Fragments of Roman glass have been found as far as West Africa and India, and as Romans popularized clear glass, the concept of transparency as a functional property entered human thought. From that idea came lenses. From lenses came microscopes. From microscopes came germ theory. From germ theory came modern medicine. From modern medicine came the life expectancy we enjoy today. A straight intellectual line, thin, winding, fragile, connecting the glass furnaces of ancient Rome to the emergency rooms and research labs of modern America. No generals required, just glassblowers. Roads, maps, and the quiet logic of empire. The United States highway system, stretching across deserts, cutting through mountains, marking the boundaries of towns.